MMS. We are your partner in growth.
Karibuni. So today we'll start with contracts. That's what for the legal bit. We'll be doing contracts today. I'll take you through just contracts generally. The typical clauses you see, the things to think about, the meanings of some of those things that you see in different contracts all the time. And then tomorrow, my colleague Mildred will come and she'll take you through enforcing a contract. So now once you've signed it, maybe somebody's breaching it, somebody's not doing what they promised to do, what do you do? So she'll take us through. That one we call it enforcement. So she'll come tomorrow in the morning, she'll take you through contract enforcement. For the rest of the activities, we'll have Kenya Cultural Center. So I'm truly excited about that because of now your technical upskilling as well. Because you're creatives after all, that's your tool. So you need to sharpen your competence or your skills to be able to draw, a better audience and to make a better business. So we'll start with the basics of what is a contract in the first place. So legally, for a contract to be valid, there are some elements that have to be met. So I'll write them down. So these ones are what the law says is a contract that is valid and everybody is required to comply. And if anything is missing, then it was never there, so it's your problem. Okay, maybe not your problem. You'd have to undo, to go back to where you were before that contract. So one, is there has to be an offer. An offer is now the request to you to do something on certain terms. So if I tell you, come and you're going to do a performance, or say a music concert. So it's an offer. I'm saying, come with your band and perform at my wedding. I will pay you this much. So I say, I will pay you 50,000. That's the offer. That does not form a contract until you accept. So the other element is acceptance. The other element would be acceptance. So it's for you, somebody has given you the request, come and do this for me, I will pay you that much, 50,000. Accepting is you saying, you could say, this one, it's a huge concept, but basically, acceptance means you agree. So you say, yes, I will come. And because the offer had an amount, even the amount is critical. So you say, yes, I will come, and I'll do it for 50,000. Because that was the offer. You do it for 50,000. If you say, yes, I'll come, but pay me 70,000, you've not accepted. It's because you have to accept what is being offered to you. So if you say, but I'll do it for 70,000, that now becomes a counter offer. Now you are the one who's offering. So they have to say, sawa, come na hiyo 70,000. Or you argue and you say, okay, let's land at 60. Then you all say, sir, 60, 60, I'll come. So the acceptance is when both parties agree on the same thing. Not you are offering something different or something different. When you agree on the same terms that you'll do it for. So that is acceptance. Acceptance does not need to be, in fact, you don't need to say yes. If you keep quiet, somebody says, come and perform for 50,000. You don't answer, but on that day you show up with your band and you perform. You have accepted by implication. So, you've impliedly accepted. And because you didn't give a counter offer or anything, it is deemed you have accepted at that price. So when you perform, you finish, you will only be entitled to that 50,000. So remember, acceptance, it doesn't need to be that you wrote or that you even confirmed and said, yes, I'm coming. If you come, then it's deemed you have accepted it. The other one, is for a contract to be now you can have an offer, you can have an acceptance. Like for example, I keep mentioning 50,000, but sometimes mtu atakwambia we njoo uperform, then useme sawa na uende, but there is no money or there is no value that is being exchanged, because if you go to perform, you're providing a certain value. For a contract to be valid, you need to be receiving something in return. So there must be some consideration. Now, the thing is, consideration, it does not need to be sufficient. But is it sufficient, right? Consideration need not be sufficient, but it must be, what's the term? Adequate. No, it need not be adequate, it needs to be sufficient. Adequate means, waeza enda ukaperform, ulipwe shilingi. Your shilingi doesn't meet any of your costs. So it's not adequate, but it's sufficient for purposes of making it a valid contract. It's something you have received in return for your efforts. So, as long as there is something, and then also, consideration does not need to be money. If, for example, they say, you come and perform for us, and then we'll keep giving you this space for you to hold your events. So I won't charge you for my venue. Tuseme kama hapa Swahili Pot pale chini, the amphitheater. They say, we have events here every Thursday. We want you to come and be singing for our guests. But after that, you can use this amphitheater every day, as long as Thursday you just perform for me. That's free, well, not free, but that provision of the space is consideration, because it's a value that they're giving you in return. And if consideration is missing, it is not a valid contract. So, if you're not receiving anything in return, that will not be a valid contract. But you could be receiving very little, that makes it a valid contract. So, but of course, contracts are negotiable, so you'll ensure that you're negotiating for a good pay for yourself in exchange for your performance or the service you're providing. Capacity is that the parties to that contract, did I begin by saying contracts can be oral? Mweza zungumza tu msikizani, sema nitakuja, na uje, na mlipane, basi imeisha. Si lazima iandikwe. Sasa, but hapa, hii capacity, ni wale wanaoingia katika huo mkataba, lazima wawe wanaweza kuingia kwa huo mkataba. In Kenya, adults can contract. If you are under 18, and the threshold is 18 years old. If you're 18 years old, you have capacity to contract. 18 years old of sound mind. So, you are not suffering under mental issue. Uko sawa, akili zako ni timamu, waweza contract as long as you're 18. If you're below 18, you'll need your guardian or your parent to consent for you. So if you enter into a contract where you're below the age, then it's not a valid contract, because that underage did not have the capacity to enter into the contract. So they could perform it, but in the end, and mostly, hizi shida zinakuja when somebody is breaching that contract. And now you want to complain about it. That's when now all these things become important. So, an underage cannot sign. Someone with a mental issue does not have capacity, unless you can prove that at the time they signed, they had all their mental faculties in place. But then that one again, now it will be proving, and it will be, you'll have to prove it first before the case continues. So capacity is critical. The other one is intention to be bound legally, which, I mean, if you sign the thing, this one is almost given, unless someone can show I was not very serious. But mostly you'll find in a contract, it will be written, people will confirm, there'll be a clause there confirming that, yes, I am voluntarily entering into this contract with the intention of being legally bound. Then the next one is lawful purpose. You can have a contract that has all of these elements, but is for a criminal thing. That one cannot be valid. In Kenya, by the way, although now it's now it's in the gray. You know, gay is still a criminal offense in Kenya. It's although the penal code shows it as sodomy. Sodomy technically is men. So I don't know whether it leaves women out. I don't know. But it's still an offense. If you sign a contract to do anything involved in that society, I don't know how well you are going to enforce that one. It's true, you can take them to court, because the court might ask you first, what was that? What was this contract about in the first place? Right? So, if it has a criminal element, if it has, if it's illegal in any way, say you are performing at an event showcasing cannabis, because now weed is in. Kila mtu anavuta bangi siku hizi for recreational purposes. Don't do it. Anyway, but if you go for an event that it's a show, it's a fair for cannabis producers, umeenda huko kuperform, when you're suing those people, say wasikulipe, I don't know how you'll explain why you were there. What were you doing there? What is this organization? The minute, because you'll have to now describe how watu waliniambia ulikuwa wafanya nini. So if it's illegal, you might have a very big challenge enforcing it, because it will not be valid. You now go to the laws of the streets to enforce your contract. Okay, so these are the elements. These are the basics. The lawyers go to law school and you spend, is it 6 months learning contracts? Contract 1 and 2, and then they make us cram a lot of cases here, which personally I didn't appreciate. Like, we made it. But these are the principles. So this underlies every single contract you will look at. When you're looking at your own contract, or you want to prepare a contract to give your client, you must make sure that whoever is offering, if it's you saying, I will come and do this for you, you must have another clause there saying that that other party has accepted to do this on the terms of this agreement. Then now you put your payment clause. You will, for this, you will pay me this much. Then you'll have your, so when you're putting the parties up or due, you will already have established whether they're adults or whether it's a registered company, whatever it is. You will have confirmed they have the capacity. Whoever is signing has capacity. Here, under capacity, for companies, you know, a company is a person, it's a separate person from you. So if you decide to operate as a business, or if you're contracting with a company, make sure that whoever is signing that contract has authority to bind that company. Weza kuwa you're dealing na, you have a contact in there, especially if you're dealing with now this big organization, like a parastatal, the big entities. You might have your network, labda ndugu yako yuko huko anakusaidia. Find out whether huyu ndugu yako anaweza sign. Anaweza kwambia njoo tu muandikishana, lete njoo, wewe njoo, anakuandikia, na they are mostly in these companies, if they are just an officer level, not a director or uko higher ranking, most likely they can't sign for that entity. So you need to be sure that the person can sign. Sometimes contracts, you can enter into a contract with someone, do something, then upeleke hiyo contract yako hapo kudai, alafu unaambiwa nani huyo alikusainia hapa chini? Hatumjui. Ama huyo mtu hana any authorization to sign for the organization. So you have to, it's something now you'll just need to ask around. If someone, but there are some offices that are deemed to have authority. For example, if you're dealing with the CEO, you don't have to find out whether this person can sign or not. It is implied they can bind the company. But if you're dealing one position, it's a law, like it's not even managerial, and they're insisting they can sign, most likely they can't. So you can ask them, okay, show me your authorization to be able to sign for your entity, if you can. Yeah. So these are the essentials. So now, we look at now like a typical, I'm going to talk about the clauses that are almost, they cut across the different contracts in your disciplines. And then we will break out, we'll go into groups of now the discipline to discuss in detail the thing that affects your art discipline, whether it's music, poetry, visual arts, acting, etc. So now we're just now going to look at your typical clauses. For these ones, the clauses you must ensure are fair to you, or that they are, clauses that are not oppressing you. Because these ones, maybe for not understanding or because they have greater power, people just accept. Alafu hizo ndo zinawafinya. Okay.
MMS, we are your partner in growth.